I'm Susan Wine, the academic instructional coach at Dunn Elementary, and I have a fifth grade teacher with me.
Yeah, Sherry Rose. I teach fifth grade at Dunn. I'm also gifted and talented certified.
So we're here to share how at Dunn Elementary, how we've adapted our NTI instruction to increase our student engagement, promote collaboration among colleagues in the building, and ease stress at home during this unprecedented time. So let me go to the next slide. So one of the things that we've really tried to focus on with the children being at home is really trying to connect them. We really want to connect the students across grade levels, but also among grade levels. So we have created some interactive things that we can do whole school. The first one that we came up with was called Fun Friday. As you can see, I like alliteration. So just wanted to share just a few things that we've done. So what we did is we shared this, I shared this with the teachers. And each week on Fridays, the students, rather than doing their regular activities from their choice board with their teachers, or some of the teachers have been doing the schedule format, every Dunn student has an option of doing Fun Friday. The first week, they watched a little video about kindness. It was the Steve Hartman series. And we had them do a little Flipgrid, how their family expressed gratitude. So the next one, the next week they visited the San Diego Zoo. And so they clicked here for directions, which is basically me on a screencastify of how to do it. They went to a Seesaw account and they responded to what they learned about the zoo. Some of their responses on Seesaw are super cute because they have choice, which is really important. They can simply type things in. They can video themselves. They can add pictures. They can add, of course, video. Kids have really responded to this and have loved it. And we've gotten a lot of feedback from parents, too, about how much they love being able to do something a little different. And then they can see some of the responses that their friends are doing as well. I'll show you what I did here to kind of connect grade levels. When they went on to their Seesaw account, let's see. All right. I'm going to take you to Seesaw real quick. What I did is I just created an account, a very secure account for each grade level. So when the kiddos go in, they can go in and click on, they actually sign up for their grade level, and then children can see each other's responses in the grade level Seesaw. So the next week we focused on Earth Day activities. It was a few days past Earth Day. There are links here for them to watch different appropriate videos, and they're leveled for K through 2, 3 through 5. There were directions on how to do a Padlet, and this is one of my favorites. When they did the Padlet, had questions for them to consider, and kiddos really got involved across the entire school, and they can all see these responses. They came in and did the cutest things. Some of them, again, they had choice. They could upload a video. They could upload a picture. They could, some of them wrote poetry. It looks like somebody wrote a song and sang a song right here. And so this was a really great way, again, for us to have the families and the children be connected during this time when they're at home. The next one, actually the one that's for tomorrow, the kiddos are going to be exploring Kentucky. I kind of spun this off of the Kentucky Derby. And so what they do is they click on this, and we'll talk a little bit about this. I'll let Sherry talk about ThingLink, some of the options for them to respond. But this is an interactive activity where they can click and then do different things all based around Kentucky. This takes them on to a horse farm. Here's about Kentucky watersheds. There's Falls of the Ohio. I created a YouTube channel that has lots of different videos about the Kentucky Derby. It's very kid appropriate. And so then after the kiddos go here and explore, then they go to Flipgrid and create their, and I'm not sure if this is going to let me in because it's the way I have it set up. Yeah. So they go to Flipgrid and it basically has a background of Kentucky and they're going to say that they learned. So next week's is super cute. I don't have that on here yet, but they're going to be taking a trip. It's all about Walt Disney. And so they're going to be listening to a biography and then kind of going through time with the Disney, and they do different things. And if we have time, I could share that. So another thing that we've done to involve the kiddos is an estimation extravaganza. And I've shared this among Zone 3. And so each week the kids, we use Jamboard for this one. And the kids go into it, and this is the first week. So there's a picture of items. The first week, I believe, was, yes, a little cup of almonds. And so the kids post their estimation, and then late on Friday, I post the answer for them. And then each week, there are different things. Like the second week, they had to, it bounced off of the idea of the small cups. So then they had to take the information about the small cup of almonds and then determine how many were in this very large container. And so, look, as you can see, the answer is already posted, and some of the kiddos did their estimation. This week is hilarious. This is one of my personal favorites. This week they had to determine how many sheets were on the roll of toilet paper. So just sort of having a little bit of fun with it. And I know that the kids have responded and saying they really enjoy it. So the next thing that we have done is called Dolphin Discussions. And teachers have been posting this into their Google Classrooms. The first week, it was more grade oriented. So I did one for each grade level. So the whole grade can access this particular Padlet. And this one, they had to write a multiplication equation to represent the number of glass doors in the picture. So each of the pictures are the same. However, the standard, it's appropriate for the grade level. So it's connected to the standard. So like that was, and then here's the one for kindergarten. So it's the same picture, but a different question. How many glass doors do you see in the top row? So the kiddos can go in and respond to that. This one is, here's the one for next week. This one is, we're going to be doing a family game day. And so the kiddos can go in and respond in their Seesaw account. And I got this actually from this is the district published this on their site. And so basically they can go in and choose a game that they'd like to play. And then after they play the game, then they can respond and tell us what sort of math strategies they used. And then finally, so not only have we been trying to really focus on connecting the families and connecting the children in some way through these learning experiences, we've also really been cognizant of trying to design cross-curricular lessons so that, it's all in one place and we can combine. So this is one that I created for the entire school. It focuses on thinking strategies. And so I sent it out to our teachers, and then they were able to, copy and paste if needed, adapt. But it was pretty great for most grade levels, specifically second through fifth. I know that the K and 1 teachers had to make some adaptations to it. But again, this is connecting kind of a spinoff of the Earth Day. It's connecting our literacy standards to science standards. And so the kids, here's before reading. They had to activate their schema. This is just a video. When you click on the picture, it's me reading the story to the children. I did that on Screencastify. And so I just read little bits and pieces, and then I stop. And then on the next slide, they have an opportunity to respond. And so what a lot of our teachers did is they just took this slideshow and then they shared a copy of it in their Google Classroom. And so then their kiddos were able to respond to the different prompts, and the teachers were able to see their thinking. So here they had to write down their questions as they were listening. The next part, questions that they have, let's see, start. What might Liam be thinking? How do you think he's feeling? So they had to sort of examine that picture and really think about the picture clues. This is a character traits, and then they had to respond to character traits. That was a Padlet. And a lot of our kids participated in this. So they had to identify the character trait and then examples from the text. And so I gave them an example, and then the kiddos, there we have a little picture of one. And so then when they were finished at the end, there were some responses. And then at the end, this was because the Curious Garden is actually based off a real place, the High Line in New York. This was a video all about the High Line for them to connect it to real world. And then the next slides are all about the Lorax. And so rather than me reading it, I actually connected it to it was like a little movie, a cartoon of the Lorax. Again, they have places to respond, and then they were comparing the two stories, how they were alike and how they were different. In the end, in this next slide, they have videos to watch about our Earth. And so it teaches them different things about recycling and composting. So they could watch the videos, and then finally, they have an opportunity to demonstrate their learning in different ways and submit it to their teacher. A lot of teachers used this, and it went over multiple days. I mean, this definitely wasn't a one-day lesson. This could be an entire week or more, depending upon the grade level. So that's sort of some of the stuff that we're doing at Dunn to try to connect everyone. I know Sherry has been doing some really amazing things with her colleagues, so I'm going to let her take over next.
Okay, so I'm not going to drive through everything that we're doing, but I do want to talk a little bit about how this all started amid our fifth grade team. First, we really wanted to give a lot of voice and choice to our students and our parents, because obviously parents are taking on a new role on top of their work at home. So we asked a lot of the students and parents, what are things that you're nervous about in regards to NTI? We asked the parents the same. We even interviewed our own family members. So for instance, I talked to my own children who have actually been engaged in NTI for several years. And some of the things that we heard back were obviously parents worried about the technology component and being able to navigate Google Classroom. And then my own children were like, well, it's very hard when teachers post something every single day in Google Classroom because things begin to get lost in there. So we took all of this information that we gathered from parents and students and just talking to other people and kind of put it all together into how can we start putting together maybe reading in social studies, reading in science. How can we put maybe even input math and all of that? We kind of put math to the side, and our math teacher is using the same format that myself and our social studies and all of us as science teachers together and kind of separated those out a little bit. So basically what we are doing is really what Susan just showed you in her format of all of the tasks for the entire week are in one slides document. So as a gifted and talented teacher in previous schools that I've worked in, it's always been difficult as in a Title I school to meet the needs of my gifted students when the focus was oftentimes on those struggling students. So I started using hyperdocs. And hyperdocs follow a very specific format of students explore, then they engage in a task, they apply their learning, and then they create something. So these templates follow somewhat of that hyperdoc format. And that's where that kind of constructed for me. The other thing that I wanted to make sure to implement was familiarity. So most of our students, they work on Chromebooks at school. Some of them are working on Apples at home. Some of them have iPads. So just talking to parents, it was like, I can't just put Control-C, Control-V, because that's different to cut and paste on an Apple computer and, just little things like that. If you look at this slide here, there's the close reading anchor chart. This is where familiarity comes in. This is the anchor chart that is in our reading classroom. So students are very, very familiar with this chart. And I didn't want to throw anything new at them. I always take pictures of all of my anchor charts so that I can really, for me, it's reference for the next year, but also to be able to share with students who might be working with an ECE teacher, and that way they have it as well when they're in a different environment. So this really helped students like, okay, take a look at our anchor chart again. So Susan, could you click on the Industrial Revolution?
Yes. I was hoping you would let me click on those. They're amazing. All right.
So, this presentation here is actually what our students are working on this week. And we're just combining some reading and social studies together. So you can go on to the next. So we lay out just like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and of course on Friday, like Susan said, our students are doing Fun Friday. And we tell students, this is just a suggestion. If they want to complete them all in one day, obviously they can do that. But our team goes through each of these and we think about, how long might this take our students? So on this test, they're just watching the videos on prefix, suffixes, and root words. And then they go through and review. This is really review for them. What is a prefix? What is a suffix? And then what is a root word? Okay, you can go to the... All right, this graphic organizer is not new to the students. So this to me is really important about not putting an organizer or something so new that it throws students off right now. I feel like they have, and this is my personal opinion, I feel like they have enough on their plates than to try and figure out how to use a graphic organizer that they've never used before. So this one here, we were just kind of looking at the word trans, and that's okay. You're fine. And then how that might relate to the Industrial Revolution. And then they go through a little deeper exploration. So if you want to hit the explore part, this actually links to another set of slides where they're reviewing prefixes, suffixes, root words. These little things that are on these slides, these are all things that they already have in their notebooks. So these were not new to them because, again, at the end of the year, reading is primarily review grade. So those are not new things. It's just kind of a little more review to them. Okay, you can go to the next slide. Next. Right here, they're just activating their schema on the Industrial Revolution. And then just like Susan showed, this is a link to a thing link exploration where they're exploring different inventions during the Industrial Revolution. So obviously each of these links is explains a different invention. What I really tried to focus on through this are different avenues. Some of these are things that they will read. Some of them are videos. And we really try to link our students to tasks that have a read option. So, for example, we have Storyworks. So they might be linked to a Storyworks article. Ducksters has the option at the bottom where they can have it read to them. And then also in the thing links, it has an option where it could be read to them as well. So that really has helped out the collaborative efforts with our ECE team for students to have that option to have it read to them. Okay. And then this is where voice and choice come into play for students. So if you click on that project methods, I always try to give options for students. So on this one, if you hit present, that'll get bigger. So each of these things, the students know if it is underlined and in a different color or underlined in bold, then they know that that's something that they can click on. So these are just some different options for students to present their learning. So they had the directions on the left side of what to do. So they could have created a thing link or a storyboard, a Powtoon. And what I typically do just in my classroom alone is as I introduce something to students, I might introduce it with a Powtoon. Or if you noticed on the previous slide, I used a thing link. So the students are already seeing an example of it before they're creating it. So that kind of, most students want to go straight to, can I create Google Slides? Well, that's great, but they are very familiar with that. So I like them to try to do new things. And when they see something new, they're more willing to try it. So of course, students just move on and then they take an interactive tour. And then we just go through kind of reading-based tasks for each of the explorations. So what this has really helped our fifth graders with is, and parents, I shall say, is really keeping everything in one place. I have very, very high completion rates with the students. And to be honest, not a lot of questions. I get a lot from parents like, thank you that all of this is together in one place, because students aren't trying to figure out where they need to go, because it's all right there in the one document. And what's great for us is we're already able to make that copy for them in Google Classroom, so we can provide feedback daily just by going into the documents, or if we're using a Google form, we can put in immediate feedback. Our next task is a breakout using the social studies and reading standards. So just really kind of putting things in one spot for all of our students, bringing that familiarity back to them to kind of help comfort them is really important right now. And then also giving them options to engage with their peers. So of course, Flipgrid is a great place to do that. And then lastly, just kind of moving forward and how this option can be used to meet the unique needs of various students. I will say one of the great things about this is those students who typically lose their papers are really staying on track and keeping things together. So, that's been really helpful for some of the students.
Well, and I think too, Sherry, it's so easy I like it even from the teacher standpoint because everything is just in one spot. When you go to look at it, you're not going in so many different places trying to find things within Google Classroom.
Right. Absolutely. And that's one thing with the choice boards. And I've used choice boards in the classroom before. A lot of our students were just really struggling with, keeping up with all the different tasks in different places and then sharing it. And so I had created a one-stop shop for them to turn everything in. And that was definitely very helpful with the choice boards because that the first week of NTI, we used the district created choice boards and they loved the activities, but then they just started getting overwhelmed with, well, I got to share this and I got to do this. And so that's where some of the feedback came to kind of put everything in one spot.
So we're super excited. I know we're running short on time, 27. We are just super excited to, they say there's a silver lining in every situation. And this really has allowed us the opportunity to work with our teachers to encourage collaboration, but also just different ways that we can incorporate technology, give students voice and choice, meet individual needs through technology, these lessons that we've been forced to create during NTI. So we're really excited about moving forward for when we do get back to school and continuing to implement some of these things that we showed you today.